security in Nigeria in the last 10 years, in the last 10 to 15 years. How much has Nigeria spent on security since the, advent of Boko Haram in Nigeria? How much have we spent as a nation on security? And that will, that will cover matter of training. It would cover the issue of personnel welfare. It would cover post-care for those that have, come back in the face of all the attacks that we've been having in the country. All of this would need to be covered. But we'll take that particular video now, and I mean, it's just a call for Nigerians to know the true state of things. Part of the key issues that we have in Nigeria is the underreported nature of some grave issues happening in the country. And this continues to go on and on and on. But now we have a Nigerian military personnel who came out to speak truth to his superiors over the corruption that is inherent in the Nigerian military. Also, spoke to the case of sponsorship of the Boko Haram, also talking about poor conditions of soldiers in the Nigerian army. This has been conversation. Francis, remember that you and I recently had to go through documents of, what's the word? The Nigerian government talking about the fact that they had handled about 200, is it 200 or 1,000?
Prosecutions.
Yeah, prosecuted a number.
1,000 plus.
1,000 plus, yeah, financiers of terrorism in Nigeria. And we never heard of that. But let's give voice to this video and then we'll delve right into it.
I come ask you this question. Me, personally, I come ask you this question. Like CDS. Okay, CDS, you go say you don't know, say, now people, they sponsor those people. If not because they deny you this visa now, nobody go know as all those Western countries now, they sponsor Boko Haram. Nobody go know. If to say they grant you that visa, as you go that Canada now, you go lock up, you no go talk anything, nobody go know how they sponsor this thing. It has come to the end. Now our prayer, they work. And our God let them why they deny you that visa as their secret exposed. And we go continue to pray now, so they go start to deny on a visa one by one, so that all the secret of this country of people that they are supporting, all those bad people go exposed. We don't do die too much. We don't do die. We're gonna make this country sweet for us. Okay, even though our own come out, we're gonna make the country sweet. We're gonna make the country sweet, so that if on our own wrong, we're gonna wrong the go. We be say we no go wrong go anywhere. We go there for the country. We go there enjoy our life. Nigeria, on a go see this video and I no go talk. On a go see this video and I no go talk. Now wait till they pay me with this country be this. I see where many people they talk say this one, that one. Even soldier, other rank like me, they criticize say waiting I talk no good. Why I go call CDS? See, if on a no, we gonna know. Some people don't already know where did they go. Some people never know where did they go. That's why I say this life, plenty of us will still be a fool. Plenty will still be a fool. I don't already know say they will come carry me, so no be today. I don't know. But wait till they pay me with even the other rank like me, but go 44, go see how many soldiers injured. We be say, now then they treat themselves with their money, where government no they do anything. Where they from get the injury? But first they talk now, wait till I know if you open mouth talk. First don't come talk for now, go they talk. No, I no still forget to those people where they injured, where they can now soldier like us, now them be. Now soldier like us, now them be. If you ever think say this talk when I talk now, one can bad thing, no worry, that will happen to them, go happen to you. Go Kaduna, or may go 7 days, may you see how many soldiers we get injured since 2021. They still did there till today. And then they still they treat themselves with their money. And no plenty people, no be one, no be two. We be saying now then they treat themselves with their money. Okay, no be from the military, then they get the injury. I been at their papa house, now they injury go meet them. I been at for their papa house, then they might go meet them. No be from this country, now they say they won't defend where they get that injury. Why government can't pay them? Why government no fit treat them? Person get injury for this country, government no fit treat them. Any other rank we see this video, we talk, say waiting at the talk and nonsense, you shall never better for that person. Even you will be say you go so retire for this work, and we don't have plan for you. If you don't know me, you know. They don't get plan for us, we be other rank. Bros, go 44. If you don't get mind, you go cry. Go 70. If you don't get mind, you go cry. Okay, those who are no be human be born them. Now from 3 day from common them back. Because all of us no be life now we get. Go down 44, go count the amount of soldiers we did there. You go know say this pain when they pay me like this, no be ordinary pain. She no be person born them, no be person picking them be, no be person papa them be, no be person father and them be, but no be person husband. No Allah clear. It clear. Now remember, see what happened to first person go happen to second person. Now so it be. Now Monday morning now I do this one again. Make una don't come carry me. Una come carry me. I don't already know where una go carry me go, bro. So I know they fear because if una still kill me, you go still sweet me. Say I talk. I know they for the people we say una they do that bad thing. Yes.
This is weakening. This should be making all of us cry. And not that we don't know that these things are going on in the country. Very soon, the chief of army staff, everybody, what's his name? His name must come to me because I like it. Buba is going to come and try to, everyone's going to try to explain this away. But you know that the boldness with which he kept calling out, you know, the 44 and 7 divisions where he can go find his colleagues that are lying waste is something that we must see. The problem is that we make laws, but we do not have, the executive does nothing in this country. The people that should be looking at what is happening with the funds that she sent, they're not asking questions. Now, if the National Assembly is to invite the Nigerian military to defend its budget and to answer questions to how the budget in the last 15 years has been implemented, they're going to, keep, skipping the rounds. And every now and then, because of the level of corruption that we have, one senator is going to get a pat on the back and the chief of army staff is going to pass. Look at the reality of things. We're talking about poor welfare. We are talking about, the indictment of some of these officials in the sponsorship of Boko Haram. Because how does somebody in Plateau State tell you that they called for hours when their communities were being besieged and no personnel of the Nigerian army came forward to their defense after they had been besieged and tried to defend themselves? 3 hours later, here comes the heroes. And the men at this level would not be able to respond if the orders are not given. So we still keep asking who gave the order and who didn't give the order. These are questions that we keep asking in Nigeria. But yet, we had a room full of these people sitting around and trying to argue over why they were not given visas to go and join a military jamboree in Canada. Just misplaced priorities upon misplaced priorities. Who is going to answer to this? And the flip side to this is, if you get into the comment section where this soldier made these allegations against the Nigerian military, and the first reaction of everybody is, this guy is going to lose his life.
Well, as far as Nigeria is concerned, most times when you get to hear officers come out to speak, is because they're stomaching up. And it's not like, remember, there was a time in this country when there is literally no military operation that happened that, the men and women of the Nigerian armed forces were not ambushed. And we kept asking the question, how is it that criminal element, terrorists, are able to access security operational intel to know that these security operators or operatives are going to this sole location, they're going to this location, they are taking this route, to be able to plan a successful ambush that has led to the hundreds, if not thousands, of innocent lives of our men and women of the security forces who have been murdered. That was a question Nigerians asked. Until today, the defense headquarters have not been able to answer that question. That is on one end. Second thing is, we also stayed in this country when allegations of poor funding the allegations of the fact that the military equipment that the terrorists were using were even from the Nigerian army. And some were more sophisticated. So while they had a lot more willpower, a lot more firepower, the Nigerian military personnel were struggling to get enough bullets to combat the insecurity. So you expect, just because a personnel has said, oh, I'm willing to lay down my life in the line of duty, so you can just send each and every one of them to the slaughter while you stay in your high exalted office and you rig the system to steal from the system, to steal from the country at the detriment of innocent life. And like he's rightly stated, see, we always would say the same thing, and this is not just about Nigerians. I know the military personnel have encountered and police officers have encountered us tell you, we are of the government, so we cannot, if we now come out to complain openly and publicly, it goes against the rules, it goes against the expectations of our officers and all of that. Yes, it goes, but we need to get to a point where the military officials, the police leadership, the Air Force authorities, the authorities of the different military and paramilitary organizations are being told the truth. And what is that truth? That these young persons, these young officers who are putting themselves on the line deserve the very best. Security experts all over the world have said, I mean, for insecurity to thrive for more than 24 hours and a couple of more days and then into a week, months, years, there are high-ranking individuals benefiting from it. The problem is not with the security officer, who is not even speaking up. Because like the young man said, I mean, no Nigerian will be surprised that you will not find this individual. If somebody were to take it up and monitor and see, in the next couple of weeks, you might not find this young man. And if you get to find him, it probably will be because he has openly said it, and the leadership of the army knows that, oh, there are people who are monitoring to see what will happen to this guy. That is the only way that he can probably survive. But is he saying the truth of what is happening? He's obviously saying the truth. I've encountered people who, within the early stages of the insurgency in this country, way back 2012, 2013, 2014, the Special Tactical Squad that comprised of military, police, and other security agencies that were sent to the northern part of the country to deal with the insurgency, of how they will stay without food, how they will stay without supply, without ammunition. And they'll literally have to fend for themselves under the worst case scenarios. So how do you expect military personnel who are starving, how do you expect military personnel who don't know what will happen to their families, how do you expect military personnel who don't have enough ammunition to be able to fight? Somebody's coming against you with a rocket launcher. Somebody's coming against you with an AK-47 rifle with, ammunition wrapped all around his body. And you just have 2-3 cartridges of bullets left.
It's a pitiable thing that we see, and this is not just to banter about these allegations that has been made by this particular personnel of the Nigerian Armed Forces. It's something that the National Assembly should weigh in on in terms of investigations. We need to, sincerely look into how true are these allegations. And the funny thing is that this is not the first time that, a personnel of the Nigerian army or any security architect, outfit for that matter has come out to say that, hey, look, this and this are the things going on with us. But just as the, personnel had said, one thing that may happen is that Nigerians are literally going to sweep this under the carpet and not look into the details. This is meant to be investigated, and in any way that the leadership of the Nigerian army is found culpable, they need to stand to answer to justice for this. My pain is the trillions of dollars that has been sunk into, the Nigerian military in the facade of fighting insecurity in this country in the last 15 years. That, we have invested a lot of money, which also is not just for, training, retraining, or the purchase of ammunition. It is also for the welfare of these men and women who've continued to go into the front lines of battle and fight for us. Now, remember, Francis, one of the key allegations that he made is that most of the soldiers that are wounded in the Division 44 and 7 are treating themselves out of pocket. Is there no plan? Is really there no plan for people who serve this country? What is the presidency going to say about this? Because I know that Bwala and Co, they have a lot of words in store, and very soon it will be there's going to be a lot of press releases soon trying to wash this under the carpet. But I hope that for the good conscience of, the Nigerian military in this country, that something is effectively done. When was the last time that their salaries and welfare was reviewed and followed through? Because one thing in this country is that we say a thing on paper, nobody follows through to make sure that, are you sure that these soldiers are getting their benefits? What is stipulated for someone who goes to the front line of the war, gets hurt? How are they supposed to be treated? Who's supposed to bear the cost of their treatment? What is the plan for their post-care? All of these things are meant to be part of why and how they sign up in the Nigerian military. But we keep on hearing these kinds of things.
Well, it's definitely going to continue happening until we get to a point where our politicians do due diligence, until we get to a point where the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, who is our president, does what he's supposed to do. And what is that? Follow through with what is happening. We discard a lot of things in this country, and everything is just about politics. I mean, watching the video of IBB talking about the June 12 election with MK Abiola and all that, I wondered, how is it that somebody makes such horrible revelation, such height of injustice that was meted not just to MK Abiola, but to the institutions? If we are to trace the history of this country, that singular decision of his is what had plunged the country into the high level of institutional decay that we have experienced so far in the last 32 years. But people sat and clapped when he offered nothing but simply a perceived gesture of regret. Nigerians can expect my regret in that regard. Is that an apology? Does it suffice for the harm that has been done to the institution in the country? But high-ranking members of a political cadre stood, they sat, they smiled, and they laughed, and they clapped and cheered on. So until we move away from these self-centered, these biased and unjust positions and mindsets and attitudes and display of our absolute lack of interest in the growth and development of Nigeria, this is what we'll continue to experience.
Well, one of the questions that I had to ask myself, just reading up on my way to work this morning, is where did we get the leaders that we have in this country? Like, I am alarmed at the kinds of things that people allow to go on under their watch, and maybe a few years later they're going to have an explanation for it. I mean, we're talking about the fact that we are going to push on to borrow more money, increase our debt profile. But yet, we're just a funny country. My problem here with the video we have just watched is, where are the civil society organizations? Where are the human rights organizations? Where is the National Assembly? Where is the National Assembly Committee on, national security? Where are all those subcommittees that vote millions of naira to sit down in committee meetings, talk what we don't understand, stand up and get their benefits and go home? What are they going to do, in response? Are you going to investigate whether these allegations are true or not? Are you going to make sure that nothing happens to that personnel? We've already heard it. It's a man who has already died before he came out to make his video. And that's such a wrong place to find yourself. Because just looking at the comment section, that's what literally everybody is reacting to. Oh, the man has made, he has come to terms with, what his fate is going to be. And he literally said it himself. So no matter what comes, one day in this country, we will remember that there are several military personnel of the Nigerian Armed Forces that spoke to the fact that they are ill-treated in service. And do you want to also go and ask how much, the high-ranking personnel are earning? It was President Tinubu that asked them to go to the front line in Sokoto and go and see how it is. It's not in coming. All of you are in Abuja sending the, you know, the men of the other ranks to go and fight, and all you're doing is looking at coordinates on papers or on screens. Are you at the war front? Do you know how it feels? You are inoculated in your AC cars, in your AC life. You still even have parts of those men in the orders being the ones protecting you. We need to call ourselves to order in this country, but I'm wondering who really is going to do that. Is it in the Senator Akpabio-led National Assembly, or is it in the Tajuddin Abbas House of Representatives? Who exactly is going to do it? Is it the 36 state governors who are all worried about how they're going to go into second term? Who exactly is going to take on the responsibility? Or is it the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who some people feel is not in tandem with the realities of things going on in Nigeria? Who exactly is going to save this country? There's a lot of corruption going on. And you know, two things. Is it that we wake up and address them, or we keep sweeping them under the carpet, and one day it is the carpet that would overthrow us because we might have put too many things under it and there will be no room, you know, to walk on it anymore. There is a lot that we can do, you know, with regards to all of this that is happening. And what I'm keeping my fingers crossed for is, first of all, the response of the National Assembly to this. And I hope that, you know, Edward Buba doesn't come out to say, you know, first of all, you would hear things like, we do not know
this military personnel.
Yeah, we do not know this person as a member of the Nigerian Armed Forces. That's a funny thing you would soon hear. I hope they do not come out and make some very hilarious statements to cover this, and the presidency too. I hope that that's not what they come out to do. I hope that this is treated as a matter of urgency. And a matter of, you know, in short, it's a matter of national security, and it's really worrisome. But we'll just pull the brakes in a moment. Of course, when we return, our phone lines will still be on the screen, and we can take your reactions and maybe contributions as to how exactly these issues can be addressed in Nigeria. We'll take a quick break. When we return, Rise and Shine continues this Wednesday morning.
Rise and Shine. Rise and Shine. Rise and Shine. Rise and Shine.
The depth of knowledge, fun and entertainment you experience on Spectrum Television can never be overstated, especially when you get them all at once. At Spectrum Television, we start your day with insightful political and social discussion, a spotlight on Africa and the world's view. On well-being, we prioritize your health and mental space, staying fit and achieving goals. Stay updated with the business world of financial markets and global economic analysis. We bring you all the latest from the world of sports and cutting-edge innovations, looking at the future of tech on Tech Insights, and stay updated with the latest in entertainment and music on Entertainment Now. Our carefully crafted content is designed to broaden your horizons and keep you informed and entertained. You won't want to miss a minute.
Killer, shower you with all my attention. Yeah, these are my only intentions.
Watch Spectrum Television live on free-to-air. Scan your decoder to continue receiving the best of our signals, or stream live at www.spectrumtvlive.ng. For more inquiries, call 0704 158 5642. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Get ready for the exciting showdown, the biggest names, the toughest competition, and the most thrilling moments. From the gridiron to hardwood and from the pitch to the track. Join us for Sports Central, the most electrifying sports program on television, every weekday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Spectrum Television. Sports Central, your home for sports. Get ready for the exciting showdown, the biggest names, the toughest competition, and the most thrilling moments. From the gridiron to hardwood and from the pitch to the track. Join us for Sports Central, the most electrifying sports program on television, every weekday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Spectrum Television. Sports Central, your home for sports. Get ready for the exciting showdown, the biggest names, the toughest competition, and the most thrilling moments. From the gridiron to hardwood and from the pitch to the track. Join us for Sports Central, the most electrifying sports program on television, every weekday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Spectrum Television. Sports Central, your home for sports.
Rise and shine.
Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. Of course, it's still Rise and Shine this Wednesday morning, and we're beaming live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Still pushing on the conversations this morning. You'd like to head into our social media platforms where you find all of the conversations that we've had so far. Serious biting issues happening in Nigeria, of which our phone lines will still be on the screen, and we can take your reactions to the issues shared. Senator Natasha Okpoti is taking Senate President to court over defamation of her character. We also see the fact that the Chief of Air Staff is asking that African leaders come together, especially in the Air Force space, to tinker on African-led solutions to security issues on the continent. And we've also seen that trending video of a personnel of the Nigerian Armed Forces calling out powers in the Nigerian army as to the poor welfare of soldiers, the fact that, there is a high level of corruption going on there. We have taken that video and, of course, looked into some of the reactions and what needs to be done. We also still look forward to your contributions on the show. Maybe you know something that the federal government should actually do better to fix security in this country. Several other stories that we have looked into. Enugu State, the State House of Assembly, is looking to address tenancy and landlord matters. So they're reviewing some cap laws to see how better faring that space can be in Enugu State. These are more some of the issues we've talked about so far. But let's push on in the conversation this morning. And this is rather still a troubling one, but let's go to the financial space of Nigeria. The report that we have here says that the federal government is set to secure a fresh round of 6 loans to the tune of $2.23 billion from the World Bank in 2025. Now, that's the federal government's target for 2025, to get about $2.23 billion from the World Bank. Now, remember that there has been several conversations up until last week by the NLC when they had their conference that the IMF and the World Bank should desist from giving loans to governments that are not accountable to the people. But here we go, 2025 sees fresh 6 loans coming. But what the key problem here is that our debt profile will be, rising by about $9.25 billion when we acquire these 6 fresh loans to add to the subsisting debt burden that we already have as a country. We have argued that the problem is not in the borrowing because we have a window to always borrow. We've talked about the fact that, different nations in the world borrow, so there is not a problem if Nigeria continues to borrow. But where is the wisdom that we are using? Why are we selling, the future of the economy of our nation to keep borrowing when we can tinker out, solutions and just find better ways to be able to curb and handle our issues, as opposed to just, going cap in hand to the World Bank or the IMF. Now, the data from the World Bank's official website indicates that this will bring Nigeria's total approved loans to 9.25 billion over the period of 3 years. Now, we're seeing that in the data and summary done by the World Bank, this for them reflects a growing reliance on multilateral funding to support critical sectors of the economy. We're looking at infrastructure, we're looking at healthcare, education, and economic resilience. This is how much, the federal government of Nigeria is borrowing to sink into these sectors. Now, Nigerians would have to ask, when we borrow these monies, do we actually see the impact? Are these monies used to develop this sector? And what level of development have we experienced so far? In 3 years, all we have borrowed from, the World Bank will be at $9.25 billion. $9.25 billion is several trillions of naira that has been brought into the nation. Now, when we look at infrastructure, when we look at the health sector, when we look at different things, the quality of the economy. Remember that early on this week, we had talked about there is a controversy as to how much was borrowed at the beginning of the Tinubu-led administration to shore up the naira when the naira was floated, when the naira was devalued. Now we borrowed, quite a sum to actually shore up that naira. How did it fare? Have we been able to refund it? What is the state of that borrowing that was done? So we continue to see these things happening in Nigeria unaccounted for. But we are asking, what's the rationale in having more borrowings? Is it just because, you can afford to borrow these monies, you go ahead and borrow them and not think of the timelines that it takes us to repay? Now, remember that in 2023, the World Bank approved loans amounting to $2.7 billion, which primarily targeted projects in renewable energy, women's empowerment, education, and the power sector. Let's take a moment to talk about women empowerment. When you talk about women empowerment, you hear things like Renewed Hope Initiative, which comes and gives 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 naira to the elderly or to women who are in business. Multiply that. Does that account for 2.7 billion naira? When you're talking of women empowerment, how empowered are these women? If they were given 50,000 in 2023, given 200,000, we need to be able to go back and look at the lives of these women, the businesses of these women, to see how they have grown over the years. Have they moved from being SMEs to becoming MSMEs? Have they been some of them that have moved on from MSMEs to become stronger entities and, employers of laborers or manufacturers, whatever that they have become in the supply chain of the economy? How much development are we seeing? Is our debt profile commensurate to the kind of development that we see? Now, we have global examples. We have, global examples such as Singapore. We have global examples such as the UAE. There are examples all around us. Even in Africa, nations that have been able to rethink their strategy of governance and economy. And we have seen the resultant effect in how their nations look and feel. But that's not the same for Nigeria. We are currently having a conversation of the Calabar-Lagos Coastal Way. We have argued that it's going to become an economic corridor. And just early on this week, the federal government has said that the amount of money that they are to use in compensations has risen. Some of these monies will go unquoted, under these funds that are being borrowed from the World Bank. Are we really holding the nation accountable? Part of the things that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu promised during at the ascent of his tenure was transparency with the dealings of government. But so far, thus far, how transparent has this administration been with how much it's borrowed and where these borrowed monies have been invested over time? Where it has been invested, what is the period of time that Nigerians should expect returns on this investment? Will empowerment yield results? These are questions, that we keep asking ourselves in lieu of all that is happening. Now, remember that some of the projects that the $2.7 billion borrowed in 2023 looked into was distributed access through renewable energy scale-up projects. What's the level of renewable energy that Nigeria currently works in from 2023 till now? Throughout 2024, we had the conversation of renewable energy. For instance, fuel subsidy was removed, and we kept having the conversation of we need to move on to CNG. But we haven't even seen one state in Nigeria yet that paramountly uses the CNG-driven vehicles or cars because of subsidy in that sector or the availability of facilities provided by either the federal or the state government. These things are not a reality. So after billions of dollars have been sunk in, who can we say is attesting to renewable energy? Are there research going on in the country? Are there innovations coming out in line with this to say that, okay, part of the things that we did is that we fostered research in this area, and these are the developmental strides that we had. We're just sitting on, a gold mine of borrowings. Now, remember that $500 million was borrowed towards the end of the Buhari-led administration for some humanitarian aid and women's scale-up. And when you look into all of the fracas under the Betta Edu-led Humanitarian Affairs Ministry, the silence that followed until now, where there is a new minister that has been assigned, of which we still do not hear what this new minister is doing. So where is the $500 million? Who has spent it? What did they spend it on? Because they are going to tell us that there are people in unbanked areas that are receiving this amount of money. There is a certain $700 million which was aimed at improving secondary education opportunity for girls in targeted areas. I don't know when last you saw a special school built in your area, which is reflected as a World Bank initiative. We have, serious issues with borrowing. But when we see that, experts excuse the window of borrowing that we have, and that also negates Wale Edun, who came out recently to say that though we can borrow, the federal government is looking to avoid more borrowings. That is something that Wale Edun had said at the beginning of February. But here we go. The federal government is considering 6 more fresh loans to raise our debt burden. Once again, my question of the day is, where did we get the leaders that we get? But you know my answer to that. The electorate holds the biggest power, but we are not yet ready to make use of that. We'll still look at some of, more borrowings and, more loans that we are taking. Now, remember that the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Hennikan Lokpobiri, made a statement recently, early on this week, talking about the fact that Africa does not need loans, but rather needs strategic partnerships and investments to address energy poverty and drive economic growth on the continent. So when you say we do not need, these loans, but we are going to borrow 6 more loans to still invest in these areas that have, that borrowings have gone on since 2023. We are wondering who is not, reading the memo. Now, Lokpobiri was making this statement early on this week at the 8th edition of the Nigeria International Energy Summit, NAES 2025. We are looking at how to bridge the continent and connecting investors worldwide with Africa's energy potential. If our leaders are borrowing from the World Bank and the IMF to invest in the energy sector, why are we not already seeing results coming out from these spaces? Now we're looking at the fact that we keep seeing panels coming out and votes of, several amounts of money. I remember that in January in Davos, Switzerland, there was also an energy summit that was held. And one of the ministers said that Europe has about 300 billion euros available for loans to Africa. That was something that was said in January, of 2025 when energy experts were in Switzerland, Davos. So is Africa looking to go and borrow from these 300 billion euros, or they are going to look for a way to get partnerships and investments rather than borrowing at the expense of the future? When you borrow, you would have to repay, I beg your pardon. But then when it's a partnership and is an investment, we are going to be talking on the margins of returns on investment and profit, and that is going to be different. So do we need to explore different windows of doing business as opposed to just going to loan these monies from these loan sharks, as it were, on the continent? Now, these are the words, of Henikan Lokpobiri, who is the minister in charge of the upstream and downstream sector for oil. Now, he's suggesting that there is no need for further loans. Rather, investments and partnerships should be considered on the continent. Now, the minister said that the current administration had changed the entire energy landscape in Nigeria, making Nigeria an investment destination for new investors and those who had earlier made plans of investment. These are paper talks. These are paper talks. But we need to see how much investment have we seen in the sector since this administration has come on board. Has there been more investment in the upstream and downstream sectors for the energy sector in Nigeria? And we are more talk than we are work in Nigeria. And we do hope that all of these leaders, these ministers, these heads of MDAs can look to navigating a path of implementation, which will further help us as a nation and further help us as a continent. What amount of investments are we sitting on as a continent? We are looking at several billions of dollars in terms of potential as a continent in the energy sector, and that needs to be explored in terms of training, in terms of facilities, in terms of exploration. There just needs to be more work done in that sector. Well, we'll take a quick breather, and when we return, we'll be moving into the Inside Akwa Ibom segment, and let's bring you news of activities happening in Akwa Ibom in the last couple of days.
Rise and shine. 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 Rise and shine.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying tuned. We're going to the Inside Akwa Ibom segment and bringing you details of activities that have been happening. Remember that sometime this year, the Governor Pastor Moino, had dissolved his executive council and had also gone on to designate some persons for different portfolios and send them to the State House of Assembly for screening and confirmation. These persons have been screened and have been confirmed and have gone on to be sworn in as commissioners with different portfolios. We're looking at 27 executive council members, 25 of them serving as commissioners and 2 special assistants to the governor to serve in the cabinet for the next 2 years under this particular first term of the Umoino-led administration. And of course, the governor had called them forward to a lot of responsibility, especially regarding the brevity of time that they have to serve. So literally, they'd have to hit the ground running and ready to bring deliverables and dividend of, government to the portfolios that they have been assigned, especially looking into the adequate interpretation of the Arise agenda. We'll look into the swearing in of these commissioners and just the celebration that followed. Part of the things that were expected from them was, on the heel of them going on to be announced as, commissioned as commissioners and essays to the state government. They had been asked to go do the celebrations in their separate local government areas. 27 of them represented from almost across the 31 local government areas, although there was, local governments that were not represented, but there was a widespread, quite a widespreading of, these representatives for commissioners and special assistants. So we tried to look into the portfolio of some of the persons who made it and what portfolios have they been given by the state to serve in the different capacities that we have. Now we see Elder Paul Ekong Basi for Eked local government area, Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Sports. We also have Ukoisi Udom San from Etina local government, Honorable Commissioner, Attorney General, and Ministry of Justice. We have Dr. Nsikan Linus Nkan, Ibesikbo Asutan, Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Economic Development. Mr. Bob Almond MM is from Ona local government area. He's the Honorable Commissioner for Ministry of Finance. We also see here Captain Inyobong Edward Ekong from Nsurubium local government area, Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Labor and Manpower. We also see Honorable Anthony Luke Udo Esienudum, Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Transport. Honorable Ikoedem Efanga Ekong Ibano, Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Labor and Manpower. We also see here Dr. Mrs. Ofiong Ofo, Samuel Ofo, who is a returning commissioner actually from any local government area, Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Agriculture. Right Honorable Inyobong Robson Namso comes from Esreket and is the Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Power. Right Honorable Dr. Henry Okona Chibong is from Itu, Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Housing. Right Honorable Nsika Okon Ekong Ikorekpene, Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Environment and Mineral Resources, Petroleum and Solid Minerals. Comrade Inieme Mobong Esien is from Ibiono local government and has now been reassigned. He was a commissioner under the former dispensation, but is returning and is now Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Special Duties and Ibom Deep Sea Port. Quite strong expectations that we have of them at this time, especially looking at a portfolio such as the Ibom Deep Sea Port. That is a dream that we hope becomes realized. We also see Professor Eno James Ibanga, a repeat commissioner from the last dispensation from Mpareni, still retaining Honorable Commissioner for Ministry of Works and Fire Service. Honorable Frank Achibong Udo from Eket local government. He is the Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs. We also have Dr. Ekem Emmanuel John from Orowanam, Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Health. That's a key sector. Honorable Mrs. Nibega Silas Otogudo Ika. That's the Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Welfare. Professor Ubong Essien Umor is from Nsedi Bom. Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Education, Right Honorable Anieka John Omana Abak. Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Information. That particular portfolio seems to have a lot of reactions coming up from Akwa Ibom, especially because he's a repeat political figure, having gone all the way to the federal level and now has returned to serve as commissioner in the current dispensation. Questions are asked as to were there no other competent hands to have recycled a person who has served before now in several capacities up onto the national level, coming back. But it's a two-sided question. It's either he's a high-performing personality or it's something else. But, we've also had arguments about this. It's also a highly laudable comprehension of persons, but there are also arguments that some of them are non-performing elements of politics or government, as it were. They have served in other capacities where they did not serve, so effectively. Why then return them? And that's something that Akwa Ibom are arguing about. We see Dr. Frank Ekpenyong from Okanafo, an Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Science and Digital Economy. Honorable Ubo Effiong Ubo Okobo, Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation. Honorable Dr. Ubong John Inyang Ikono, Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Trade and Investment. General Koko Essien, retired, is from Uran. He is Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Internal Security and Waterways. Honorable Princess Emmanuel Ibanga is from Nseratai. Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, and Dr. Anietie Udofia is from Uyo. Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Culture and Tourism. This one will definitely have a lot of work on his hands because, the tourism target for Akwa Ibom State is really big. Looking at the Christmas Unplugged that have gone on for 2 years now, there's a lot of responsibility. He has to bring fresh interpretation to this. Dr. Ekerete Paul Ekanem Etemekbo, Honorable Commissioner, Ministry Youth Development. That's a portfolio that a lot of Akwa Ibomites are excited about. More like having the right person for the right job, but we need to see also how he interprets the goal of having developments where the youths are concerned. Now we see here Barrister Kufre Effiong Odosen is from Ikorabasi, Honorable Special Advisor, Bureau of Political and Social Reorientation. Now that's a capital office on its own. Bureau of Political and Social Reorientation, we need that to be enshrined, and I hope we can have a conversation with him soon. We can also see here Right Honorable Mrs. Alice Ekpenyong Mbo, Honorable Special Advisor, Bureau of Cooperatives and Rural Development, which is a key, a key nucleus of the Akwa Ibom State government, especially because Governor Pastor Moino has hinged his administration to be very rural development oriented. He has decided to work from the bottom up as opposed to doing it from the top to the bottom. So these are critical things that we hope to see how they'll be well interpreted. But let's go to the speech of the governor during the commissioning of these commissioners, 27 of them now, 25 of them being commissioners and 2 of them being special advisors to, the governor. Key things out of the governor's speech was the fact that he intends to run a very, very transparent, office and tenure with them. And also the fact that one thing that he said that caught my attention is the fact that he doesn't have a body language that should be read. He says what he means and means what he says. And those are key things that should be taken very seriously in these particular administration of cabinet members. One other key thing that he did that is very instructive for us as a people is that the governor named this particular set of executive councils as the Joseph era. he called them the Joseph era of, the Akwa State Executive Council. What does this particularly mean? Now, if you're a Christian and you know the story of Joseph, you understand the mandate that was on his shoulders to be able to bring about a turnaround in the economic times of, Akwa Ibom State. And that's something that is really, really important for us to see. So the governors has put a mandate on their shoulders to see that they are effective in the way that they bring about the interpretation of things to this particular administration. He has talked about that he will not be welcoming any kind of excuses from any of the commissioners that have been brought on board to serve under his administration at this time. Several things that is expected out of them, and there are several targets that have been sent out to, of course, as part of their, as part of their portfolios, there are expectations that have been linked. But this is a video coming out of the first Executive Council meeting held after their commissioning, and we'll just take excerpts out of this.
Of course, he called for dedicated service and called on every ministry, particularly the new ministries, to develop their plans and set their targets in line with the tenets of their rights agenda, and tasked ESCO members, especially in the new ministries, to study all of the components and pillars of their rights agenda for proper understanding and target setting. He thereafter tasked the Ministry of Sports particularly to ensure the development of sporting activities like such as school sports, and of course the commencement of the building of the sports academy, which he did promise the people during electioneering campaign. The governor in council wants to see that happen as quickly as possible. He also tasked the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, the Honorable Commissioner is here, the Ministry of Women Affairs and others to hit the ground running and ensure accountability and effective mobilization of especially the women folk who are our greatest cheerleaders in this whole process. One of the key decisions of today's council meeting was the renaming of what used to be the Ministry of Economic Development. It's now rechristened the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. And good enough, the Honorable Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning is here in person. He will shed more light. And the Governor in Council directed the posting of an additional permanent secretary to that ministry, permanent secretary budget. So the ministry will have...
Having finished with what would say as introductory formalities for this event, we're going to move forward now as we would be inviting the commissioners designate to come up to the microphones, after which His Excellency would, of course, administer their oaths, both of office and of allegiance. Before we felt we to take a more elaborate introduction. But having come this far, can I ask that all of us who have been so big that we thank all of you and we appreciate you. Chairman of local government areas who have joined us here, we acknowledge all of you through the chairman of ALGO, Dr. Wemedi Moudon. We acknowledge your presence and we will name the name not dismissed today. But we honor all of you as Dean of the College of Commissioners. Please can we celebrate all these words that I've made?
Our dream and desire is to continue to keep Akwa Ibom as an oasis of peace and tranquility, where investors and tourists will come, live, and thrive. We don't have the benefit of time. We're in a hurry to deliver solid democratic dividends in line with their rights agenda to our people. Therefore, we will not entertain excuses, tardiness, or the resort to working at cross purposes. We expect teamwork, unity, passion as the necessary ingredients that you must bring to your work. This ESCO, therefore, must be shaped by love, teamwork, unity of purpose, and spirit of oneness, carrying each other along as partners rather than as adversaries, and to be very observant so we do not allow one person
an opportunity to work towards the realization of the Arise agenda. So this time, we are all working, my colleagues and I, to see that the Arise agenda, which is the blueprint of this administration, the objective of that agenda is realized.
All I can say is that I am here to work for the good of Akwa Ibom State. I am here to work to support the success story of His Excellency Governor Umahian. I am here to add whatever value that God gives me the ability to do to ensure the furtherance and growth of the Arise agenda. That is why I am here. The governor has done his own. It is now left for me and all of us to do our part to justify this confidence that's reposed in us.
In fact, this is the first time, if I can remember, that members of the National Assembly are coming in to work in the executive arm of government at the state level. And we are going to bring our experience to bear, both at the state level and at the national level, so that we are able to actualize the Arise agenda of His Excellency.
And so what I have to do now is to refuel, reposition, and recharge for the next challenge. In the spirit of the Arise agenda, we are ready to take up any challenge, and by the grace of God, we'll get it done.
By the special grace of God, my return into the exco is a favor from the Almighty God. And being a favor from God, by God's grace, I will do everything possible to.
First, we are invited to government, so the letter of invitation will state what you are expected to do. And the whole idea is to help the governor achieve his goal. And the governor would state the parameters with him. But luckily, there is a document called the Arise Agenda, which already states the boundaries of what the governor will be held accountable. So in any ministry anyone is sent to, you're expected to deliver the Arise Agenda along the lines of what the governor expects. So we're back with energy, we're back with experience, we're back with preparedness.
You see from his words, he actually told us to come and work and that he will now pick based on performance. So he has done the assessment and the result has come out, and it has come out clearly. And now we are here to work with him to succeed in the implementation of the Arise agenda. Arise agenda has succeeded. We want to cement the success and herald him to second term, of which the entire Akwa Ibom people, because of the successes recorded, will get him re-elected as the governor for the second term. So we are going to work with him as a team to get that to happen in the state. So we thank God for everything. We thank God for today.
Well, quite a number of excited returnees and first-timers under this administration. Some of them have served in different capacities before now. We've seen the Commissioner for Agriculture there, Afiong Ofo. We've seen in Memobong. We've seen those for water resources and several other commissioners. We do wish them all the best, especially with the interpretation of the Arise agenda, with of course the independent expectation of their portfolios across board. This is the first Executive Council meeting held for the Joseph Era Executive Council, the first meeting that they've had as commissioned and christened members of the Executive Council. So, of course, now we're beginning to talk the books. We're beginning to talk details of what is expected, and everybody's hand is getting to work across sectors. So we'll just quickly take, excerpts out of the first council meeting held by the state executive.
The governor, chair of the council, the exhortation by your father.
You're welcome to the Executive Council chambers. Some of you, I'm sure, you are having access for the first time. Some of you have been here as guests. But today you are sitting as members of the Executive Council. This is where, by the grace of God, we discuss, deliberate, and take decisions that affect 7.9 million Akwa Ibomites. And it is not an easy task. It is great responsibility that God, through the people, have laid on our shoulders. We like to discuss here very robustly, and we like to hear everyone's contribution. And you may bring issues for deliberation. If it goes your way, fine. If it doesn't go your way, fine. But once a decision is taken, that's the position of ESCO. And we all stand by that position. We all support that decision and work through it.
The meeting, as you know, commenced at about 1 p.m. and it was fully constituted, and the Governor's Council sat in as the chairman that he is. And of course, the first item on the order of the agenda was the reconstitution of the new Executive Council following the swearing in of new commissioners and special advisors yesterday by the Governor. So the Governor formally did that, and he called for dedication and committed service by all honorable commissioners and special advisors in their respective ministries to help drive further and deepen this rice agenda that his administration is committed to. Of course, he called for dedicated service and called on every ministry, particularly the new ministries, to develop their plans and set their targets in line with the tenets of their rice agenda, and tasked ESCO members, especially in the new ministries, to study all of the components and pillars of their rice agenda for proper understanding and target setting.
But what His Excellency the Governor has done today is to unify the component of the budget into one. Hitherto, we used to have Minister of Finance controlling the current aspect of the budget, and Minister of Economic Development controlling the capital aspect of the budgeting. And since budgeting is the major tools in planning in government, His Excellency has considered the need to mesh the two components of the budget planning into one. Now, that is under one ministry he called Minister of Budget and.
Well, that is Dr. Nsikan Linus Nkan, who is the Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Economic Development, and Projects, as has been added to his portfolio. Now speaking, of course, we also had the Commissioner for Information, the Honorable Anika Nomana, speak before now after the Governor's speech that we heard earlier. Of course, everybody is looking at how they would, most effectively interpret the tenets of the Arise agenda as they have all brought their wealth of experience and the mandates that the Governor has put on their shoulder to the table. But we say congratulations to the Joseph era of Executive Council members of the Akwa Ibom State Government. Hopefully, we experience a very robust economy under their leadership, as was experienced under Joseph in Egypt. But we'll quickly move now to Daily Spotlight, where we look at the front pages of the national dailies. Thanks for staying tuned. Now let's look at the front pages of our national dailies, and the Punch is where we start. The front page here says why INEC votes can't count. Ex-president decries ghost voters, regional influences, seeks electoral reforms. We've been having this conversation since, but nobody is ready to get the work done. We also see here Obasa awaiting ruling before returning to assembly, says lawyer. Senate backs Akpabio as Natasha files 100.3 billion naira defamation suit. APC dismisses anti-Ganduje plot as El-Rufai absent from NEC meeting. Tax reform, Senate plans review as customs ASO fault provisions. Afeni Fere backs Kalu, says declaring Abiola president long overdue. We also see here South governors move against Wike's camp over PDP Congress crisis. Nigeria's World Bank debt may hit $9.2 billion as federal government eyes 6 loans. All right, that's all we have on the front page. We move ahead to Daily Times. And what we see here, ASU warns of looming crisis in universities, condemns move to replace TEP fund. Of course, there's been a public hearing, and I hope that they can come to the best decisions for the tax reform bills. El-Rufai, I am still a member of APC, but can't attend NEC. Of course, it can be like Wike, he will be in the PDP, work for APC. So he can decide to be in APC, now working for the PDP. We'll see what their drama is about in subsequent days. Army refutes reports on automatic promotion initiative. Plateau booms with fake hospitals and schools. That is a serious matter right there. Traffic heights. FCCPC summons MultiChoice, warns against exploitation. Okay, of course, we see that MultiChoice is looking to increase their tariff in Nigeria. Nigerians, advise yourselves. That's all I would say. The Nation is our next stop, and it says here, funding crisis. Improper planning hinders census. President raises panel to rev up plan. Where is the money that was voted under the Buhari-led administration for this same census? I hope we will not be speaking gibberish when it's time to account for it. We move on now. We're looking at the fact that Kwara State 5,928 for teachers recruitment interview. 9 die on Lagos-Ibadan road crash. Development of bitumen port my priority, says Ayedatiwa. Congratulations to Governor Ayedatiwa, who of course was re-elected for his personal first term of 4 years as governor of Ondo State. Osun Council workers get conflicting directives. Osun local government controversy, Lagos solution to logjam. Okay, 22-year-old Nigerian Zuriel tipped for Nobel Peace Prize. Okay, Tinubu seeks stronger security synergy. Anyanwu court restrains Damagum INEC. Less than 30% of Nigerians pay tax. Bills gets backing at public hearing. Okay, that's all. And we'll take the last paper for this morning, and that will be the Nigerian Tribune. Food prices drop ahead of Ramadan. Okay, I'm on the front page of Daily Trust. Maize now 47,000 naira for 100 kilograms. Rice is now 70,000 naira for 50 kg. After Ramadan, what happens to the rest of us in the country? Trader cites naira gain, importation others. Imports not a good development, says farmers. Nigeria's GDP grew by 3.40% in 2024, says the NBS. APC National Caucus meets ahead of NEC. Card reader almost sets Nigeria ablaze in 2015, says Jonathan. 13 killed in Yobe Sokoto auto crashes. Federal government demands probe as Nigerian footballer dies in Uganda. Okay, Bayelsa varsity student drowns in swimming pool. Very sad story that we see there. But these are all the stories that we can look at the front page of our national dailies. The Tribune, CBN frustrating probe into 30 trillion naira ways and means, says Senate panel. How much more frustrations are we going to see in the myriad of probes that we need to do as a country? Well, Afenifere appoints Oba Oladipo as new leader. Lagos Assembly, union leadership demands release of 3 detained staff. ONSEC chairman takes IGP or Shun CP to court. Oyo Assembly okays issuance of bond to finance remodeling. Serious cases here. And that's all that we're taking on the front pages. Court sentences Ekiti teachers to 44 years imprisonment for defiling teenage students. Very sad reality. But that's all that we have on the front page of our national dailies, and all we are taking on Rise and Shine this Wednesday morning. It's been such a ride looking at key stories across board. But that's where we will draw the curtains. Thank you so much for being a part of the story. But where I will leave you is with the words of the Nigerian personnel of the Nigerian Armed Forces, the Nigerian military, who has said, when we speak truth to government, hope that Nigerians will stand up and back up all some of these conversations. Let's see how CSOs, the National Assembly, and the rest of the country would demand a probe into the activities of the Nigerian Army at this time. My name is Iyai Emem.